I flew from Britain without warning to surprise my daughter after 2 long years. Instead of a hug, I found her chained in the garage, barely breathing. "It's all my mother-in-law and my husband," she whispered. My revenge was ruthless. They thought I was just an old retiree. They were dead wrong. Before continuing, subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is in your region right now. The flight from London to San Francisco gave me 11 hours to think. 11 hours to wonder why my daughter Laura hadn't called in 3 months. 11 hours to ignore the knot of anxiety that had been tightening in my gut since her last voice message. The one where she sounded like someone was standing over her shoulder, monitoring every word. I'm James Harrison, 68 years old, and I spent 35 years as a detective in the Financial Crimes Division. I know when something's wrong. The human voice has tells just like a poker player's hands. Laura's voice on that last call? It was all wrong, so I didn't call ahead, didn't warn her I was coming, just booked a ticket and flew across the Atlantic. If everything was fine, it would be a wonderful surprise. If it wasn't, well, I'd learned long ago that the element of surprise is the most valuable weapon in any arsenal. I landed at 9 in the morning on June 15th, rented a car and drove straight to San Jose, to the beautiful house in the suburbs that Laura and her husband Tyler bought 3 years ago, the house I helped them find, the house where I thought my only child would build a happy life. The front door was unlocked. That was the first red flag. Laura had always been careful about security, probably because I'd spent her entire childhood drilling safety protocols into her head. An unlocked door in the middle of a Tuesday morning, with no car in the driveway? Wrong. "Laura!" I called out, stepping into the foyer. "Tyler, anyone home?" Silence, but not complete silence. There was something, a faint sound coming from somewhere in the house. I stood still, letting my ears do the work. 35 years of detective work teaches you to trust your senses. There, from the garage, a muffled sound, almost like whimpering. I moved quickly through the kitchen to the door leading to the garage. Locked, but not just locked. I could see something blocking it from the other side. The sound came again, clearer now. Someone crying, someone trying to call for help, but too weak to make much noise. "Laura!" I shouted, pounding on the door. "Laura, is that you?" "Dad?" The voice was barely a whisper, but it was her. "Dad, please." I tried the door again. It wouldn't budge. There was a deadbolt on my side, but whatever was blocking it from the other side made it impossible to open. I looked around the kitchen, my mind racing through options. No time for subtlety. I grabbed a chair and slammed it against the door handle. Once, twice, 3 times. The wood splintered. I kicked hard at the weakened spot. The door frame cracked. One more kick and I was through, shoving aside the heavy box that had been wedged against it. The garage was dim, lit only by thin strips of sunlight coming through the small window near the ceiling. It took my eyes a moment to adjust. When they did, I felt something inside me break and reform into something harder, colder. Laura was chained to the water pipe along the back wall, actually chained like an animal. A heavy padlock secured the chain around her ankle. She was sitting on a thin, filthy blanket, wearing clothes that looked like they hadn't been changed in weeks. Her hair was matted, her face gaunt and bruised. When she looked up at me, her eyes were hollow, with a kind of suffering I'd only seen in crime scene photos. "Dad," she whispered, and started to cry. Not the gentle tears of relief, but the broken sobs of someone who'd given up hope. I was across the garage in 3 strides, kneeling beside her, my hands shaking as I examined the chain. Commercial-grade padlock. I looked around frantically for something to break it with. "Where are they?" I asked, my voice deadly calm despite the rage building in my chest. "Where are Tyler and his mother?" "Hawaii," Laura managed between sobs. "They flew to Hawaii last week. Dad, they left me here. They were going to let me die. Vilma said, she said after I was gone, they'd have everything." I found a bolt cutter hanging on the wall, probably the same tool they'd used to secure the chain. The irony wasn't lost on me. I cut through the chain with 2 hard squeezes, the metal snapping with a satisfying crack. "Can you walk?" I asked, helping her to her feet. She could barely stand. I could feel her bones through her clothes. How long had they been starving her? "I don't know," she said. "I've been here for 3 weeks. Before that, they kept me locked in the bedroom." 6 months, Dad. This has been going on for 6 months. 6 months. While I was living in London, thinking my daughter was safe and happy in her marriage, she was being tortured by her husband and his mother. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. My hands weren't shaking anymore. That initial shock, that moment of horror, had crystallized into something else. Something focused and utterly ruthless. "I need an ambulance," I said when the operator answered. "And police. My daughter has been held captive and abused. Yes, I'll stay on the line." I put the phone on speaker and set it down, then carefully lifted Laura in my arms. She weighed nothing. This girl who'd been strong and vibrant 2 years ago now felt as fragile as paper. "It's over," I told her, carrying her toward the door. "I'm here now. They'll never touch you again." But even as I said it, I knew those words weren't quite right. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot. It was just beginning. Because Tyler Benson and his mother Vilma had made a critical error in judgment. They'd hurt my daughter. And I'd spent 35 years learning exactly how to destroy people who thought they were clever enough to get away with crimes. They were about to learn they weren't clever at all. The paramedics arrived within 10 minutes. I'd laid Laura on the couch, wrapped in clean blankets. She was shivering despite the June warmth. Dr. Julia Clark, the lead EMT, looked horrified as she examined Laura. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, multiple contusions in various stages of healing. She looked at me. How long was she confined? 3 weeks in the garage. 6 months of abuse before that. 2 police officers arrived as they loaded Laura into the ambulance. Detective Robert Chen introduced himself, mid-40s, sharp eyes. "Mr. Harrison, you found her?" "I'm her father, James Harrison, retired detective. Worked financial crimes in San Jose PD for 35 years. Flew in from London this morning. Found her chained in the garage." Chen's expression shifted, cop-to-cop recognition. "Financial crimes? Then you know the drill. Her husband Tyler Benson and his mother Vilma did this. They're in Hawaii right now. Left her here to die while they vacation." Chen's jaw tightened. "We'll verify that. Ride with your daughter, and I'll take your statement at the hospital." At Regional Medical Center, they put Laura in a private room with IV fluids. I sat beside her bed, watching color return to her face. Nurses documented injuries with photographs that would become evidence. Laura slept fitfully. I held her hand and felt something I hadn't felt since my days on the force. That cold, calculating clarity that comes when you're hunting someone. I was a hunter now. Tyler and Vilma were my prey. Detective Chen came by around noon with a female officer. Laura, her voice, weak but growing stronger, described the systematic destruction of her life. "It started 6 months ago," Laura said. "Tyler changed, became obsessed with money, controlling everything. He took my phone, monitored my emails, my bank accounts." "What about his mother?" Chen asked. "Vilma moved in around the same time. Said it was temporary. But she never left. She was worse than Tyler. Told me I was useless, that I was lucky Tyler married me. Followed me around, criticizing everything." My hands clenched into fists. "When did the physical abuse start?" 2 months ago. I tried to call my dad. Tyler caught me. Hit me for the first time that day. After that, it got worse. He locked me in the bedroom. Vilma would bring food once a day, just enough to keep me alive. She'd watch me eat, telling me once they had access to all my accounts, I wouldn't be needed anymore. "Your accounts?" Chen looked at me. "My daughter inherited $850,000 when her mother died 5 years ago." Chen's pen stopped moving. That kind of money was serious motive. "Laura, I need authorization to access your accounts, your documents, everything. Can you do that?" She nodded. "Yes." "Dad, they took almost everything. Tyler kept making me sign papers, transfer money. I was so scared. Then 3 weeks ago they chained me in the garage and left. I heard them planning Hawaii. They were laughing about finally getting a vacation." The female officer's face went pale. Chen kept writing, expression carved from stone. After they left, I watched Laura sleep. My mind worked through what needed to happen next. This wasn't about protecting Laura anymore. This was about justice. Real justice. The kind that destroyed entire worlds. Tyler and Vilma thought they were smart. They'd isolated Laura, controlled her, broken her down systematically. They'd underestimated one crucial factor, though. They'd underestimated me. I pulled out my phone and made calls. First, Wade Miller, a family law attorney I'd worked with on several cases. Then Xavier Donovan, an old colleague who'd gone private investigator after retirement. I needed information fast. Bank records, phone records, everything Tyler and Vilma had done. By evening, when Laura woke, I had the beginnings of a plan. A methodical, comprehensive plan using everything I'd learned in 35 years hunting financial criminals. "How are you feeling?" I asked. "Stronger." "Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have found a way to tell you." "Stop. None of this is your fault. Understand? None of it. What happens next requires you to trust me completely. Can you do that?" She looked at me, hollow eyes showing a flicker of something new. "Hope, maybe? Or something harder?" "What are you going to do?" I smiled, but it wasn't warm. It was the smile I used on suspects when I had them cornered. "I'm going to do what I've always done, sweetheart. Follow the money. And when I find where it leads, I'm going to make sure Tyler and Vilma pay for every single thing they did to you. Legally, completely, permanently." She squeezed my hand. "I want to help." "You will. But first, you heal. Let me handle the rest." Sitting in that hospital room, watching the sunset, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Cold, focused, absolutely ruthless purpose. Tyler Benson and his mother had spent 6 months building their trap. They just didn't realize they'd caught a tiger's cub. And now the tiger was awake. Laura slept through most of the second day. I sat in that chair beside her bed, letting my mind drift back, trying to pinpoint when everything went wrong. 2 years ago, Laura had just married Tyler. The wedding was beautiful, a garden ceremony in Napa Valley with 70 guests. Tyler had been charming that day, all smiles. He'd made a toast about how lucky he was to marry into such a wonderful family. "Dad, you should go," Laura had said a week after the wedding. "Don't put your life on hold for me. I'm married to a great guy." She'd seemed genuinely happy. So I'd gone to London, spent 2 years thinking my daughter was safe. The first crack came 6 months ago, December. Laura called, strain clear in her voice. "Hey, Dad, just wanted to say hi." "Laura, you sound tired." "I'm fine, just busy. Tyler's got me helping with some financial stuff." Something had been off. Her responses too careful, too measured. I'd chalked it up to stress. 35 years as a detective, and I'd missed the warning signs. After that, silence. When I'd tried reaching her, I got brief responses. "Busy. Talk soon." Then nothing. I should have known. The door opened. Lisa Thompson, the neighbor, entered with coffees. "Mr. Harrison? Thought you might need this. How's Laura?" "Recovering. Please sit." Lisa looked troubled. "I feel terrible. I hadn't seen Laura in almost a month. You couldn't have known." "I saw them last week, Tyler and his mother." Lisa wrapped her hands around her cup. "Loading suitcases. Big ones." Vilma waved, all smiles. "Told me they were taking a well-deserved vacation to Hawaii." My jaw tightened. "What day?" "Tuesday, June 8th. They were laughing. "Tyler said 2 whole weeks of paradise." She paused. "Where was Laura?" I figured maybe she couldn't get time off work. 2 weeks in Hawaii while Laura was chained in their garage. They'd left her to die, waited long enough that investigation would be complicated. Then they'd come back, discovered her missing, played devastated family. "Did you hear anything else?" "About 3 weeks ago, I heard shouting from their house, late at night. I thought about calling police, but it stopped. I convinced myself it was just a TV." Her eyes filled with tears. "I should have called." "It's not your fault. But if you remember anything else, Detective Chen will want to hear it." After Lisa left, I accessed Laura's bank accounts. The inheritance, $850,000. It was meant to give her security. Instead, it painted a target. What I found made my blood run cold. 6 months of systematic theft. Small at first, 5,000 here, 10,000 there. By March, 6-figure chunks. Final balance, 170,000 in a trust account requiring both signatures. Everything else gone. $680,000 stolen. Worse, I cross-referenced dates with Laura's medical records. Every large transfer corresponded with a documented injury. March 15th, $50,000. Fractured rib. April 22nd, $75,000 bruised kidney. May 30th, $120,000 concussion. He'd beaten her into compliance, then robbed her. Methodically, deliberately. My phone buzzed. Xavier Donovan, the private investigator. James, got preliminary information. Go ahead. Tyler Benson, 42, works in tech sales. Or worked, fired 3 months ago. Here's where it gets interesting. Gambling debts. $120,000 across 3 Reno casinos. They've been pressuring him for payment. The pieces clicked. Tyler needed money desperately. Laura had money. Simple equation. What about the mother? Vilma Benson, 64, declared bankruptcy twice. No steady employment since 2018. Also has a record. Misdemeanor fraud in 2012. Tried to scam an elderly neighbor out of 50 grand with a fake investment scheme. Of course, this wasn't Tyler's first rodeo. There's more. Tyler and Vilma have a joint account. Most of Laura's money went straight from Tyler's personal account to that joint account. They've been splitting it 50-50. This wasn't just abuse or theft. It was a planned operation. Mother and son working together to rob my daughter blind. When they'd taken everything, they'd decided to eliminate the witness. Keep digging. I want everything. Bank records, phone records, emails, social media. You got it. James, get them. I hung up and looked at Laura, still sleeping in that hospital bed. She looked so fragile. Nothing like the vibrant woman who'd stood in that Napa Valley garden 2 years ago, full of hope and plans for the future. Tyler and Vilma wouldn't be back from Hawaii for another week. I had 7 days to build a case so airtight they'd never see daylight again. 7 days to gather every piece of evidence, document every crime, prepare every legal motion. I opened a new note on my phone and started writing. Every detective knows the case is won in the documentation. Every fact, every dollar, every bruise. I'd build this case the way I'd built hundreds of others, piece by methodical piece, leaving nothing to chance. Only this time, it was personal. The next morning, Detective Chen brought me Laura's phone. Forensics had extracted everything. Texts, emails, photos, call logs. Fair warning, Chen said. It's rough. I waited until he left. The text messages between Laura and Tyler told the story. January. Where are you? Why didn't you answer? February. I'm handling our finances now. Don't question me again. March. Sign the papers. Don't make this harder. If you tell anyone, it'll get worse. April. You brought this on yourself. My mother is right about you. My hands shook. I set the phone down, took 3 breaths, picked it up again. The photos were worse. Bruised cheek, split lip, finger-shaped bruises on arms. Laura had documented the injuries in secret, hoping she'd get a chance to use them. In the metadata, I saw she'd tried emailing these photos multiple times. Every attempt failed. Tyler had blocked her access. Smart abuser tactics. Isolate, control, eliminate escape routes. Then I found bank documents, photographed in secret, transfer authorizations with signatures that looked wrong. I zoomed in. The signature was close to Laura's, but the pen pressure different. The loop on the L too wide. Forgery. Tyler hadn't just coerced her, he'd forged her signature on multiple documents. I forwarded everything to Wade Miller, the family law attorney, then called him. Wade, check your email. I need a forensic document examiner yesterday. I'm looking now. Oh my goodness. Wade's voice went hard. James, this is criminal fraud. Major criminal fraud. Potential prison time. That's the idea. How fast can you get the documents examined? I know someone. 48 hours. But this changes everything. We're talking criminal prosecution. Good? What about freezing Tyler's accounts? With this evidence, emergency restraining order and asset freeze by end of business today. California law is clear on protecting domestic violence victims. Once I show the judge these photos and bank records, Tyler won't touch a penny. Do it. I returned to Laura's phone, scrolled through contacts. Most names I recognized. Then, Vilma B., do not answer. The messages from Vilma were vicious. You're not good enough for my son. When he realizes his mistake, don't expect sympathy. And recently, your money won't last forever, dear. Neither will you. Threats. Clear, documented threats. I kept scrolling. Found a text from an unknown number dated 2 weeks ago. Just checking in. Still on for lunch next Thursday? V. Response from Laura's number. Can't make it. Busy with home projects. But Laura hadn't sent that. She'd been locked in the bedroom. I checked the metadata. Sent from Laura's phone, but from different coordinates. A restaurant in downtown San Jose. Tyler had taken Laura's phone. He'd been impersonating her, maintaining the illusion that everything was normal. I emailed screenshots to Chen. Evidence of identity theft and fraud. Tyler Benson impersonating Laura via text. Laura stirred. Dad? Right here. How are you feeling? Better. Tired. She shifted, wincing. What are you doing? Building a case. Laura, did Tyler make you sign documents you didn't understand? She looked away. Yes. He said it was for taxes. He had papers. I tried to read them, but he kept rushing me, saying we had a deadline. Did you sign a document transferring the house to his name? Yes, in April. He said it was just for tax purposes, that my name would still be on it, legally. Was he lying? I'm afraid so. The house is entirely in his name, but we're fixing that. Wade's filing paperwork today to reverse all of it. Laura's eyes filled with tears. I'm so stupid. I should have known. Stop. You're not stupid. You were isolated, terrorized, systematically manipulated by someone who spent months breaking you down. This is not your fault. None of it. But the money can be recovered. Tyler and Vilma made mistakes. Lots of them. They got greedy. Sloppy. My phone buzzed. Wade. Emergency restraining order granted. All accounts frozen. Judge wants to see us Monday. You were right. The judge is furious. I showed Laura. It started. Tyler and Vilma are in Hawaii, thinking they're on vacation. When they land next week, police will be waiting. No money, no house, no access to you. Just handcuffs. Laura's expression shifted. Something hard flickered in her eyes. Good. I want to be there when they realize. I want to see their faces. There it was. The spark I'd been waiting for. My daughter wasn't just a victim anymore. She was getting angry. You will be. We'll make sure of it. I spent the rest of the day coordinating. Xavier called with more. Vilma had researched how to report someone missing and how long before presumed dead online. Tyler had looked up countries without extradition treaties and how to transfer money offshore. They'd been planning to flee, take Laura's money, and disappear. Except Laura would never be reported missing because she'd be dead, and no one would think to look until too late. It was solid planning, almost professional. If I hadn't shown up when I did, it would have worked. But I had shown up, and now they were going to learn what happens when you underestimate a father's love and a detective's skills. Dad? Laura's voice pulled me back. Thank you for coming home, for not giving up. I looked at my daughter, bruised and broken but alive. Laura, I need you to understand something. What comes next isn't about mercy or forgiveness. It's about making certain they never hurt anyone again. Can you accept that? She met my eyes. Yes. Make them pay for everything. I intend to. They discharged Laura on the morning of June 19th, 4 days after I'd found her. The doctors wanted to keep her longer, but Laura insisted she needed to leave. I understood. Hospitals feel like prisons when you've just escaped a real one. I'd rented a furnished apartment in downtown San Jose the day before. 2 bedrooms, security building, 24-hour doorman. Nothing like the house she'd shared with Tyler. This place was temporary, anonymous, safe. Laura sat on the couch in the living room, wrapped in a blanket despite the June warmth. She looked better, color in her face. The IV fluids had done their work, but her eyes still carried that haunted look. I made tea, brought it to her, sat in the chair across from her. Tell me everything, I said, from the beginning. She was quiet for a long moment, hands wrapped around the mug. Then she started talking. 6 months ago, everything changed. It was January 3rd. I remember because it was the day after New Year's. Tyler came home from somewhere, I don't even know where he'd been, and he was different, angry. He started going through our finances, demanding to know why I'd spent money on groceries, on gas, on everything. I thought he was stressed about work. Was he? I asked. No. I found out later he'd been fired in December. He never told me. Just kept leaving every morning like he was going to the office. She took a sip of tea. That same week, Vilma showed up. Tyler's mother. She said she needed a place to stay for a few weeks while she looked for an apartment. I didn't want her there, but Tyler insisted. said it was temporary. I stayed quiet, letting her talk. Vilma was awful from day one. She'd follow me around, criticizing everything. The way I cooked, the way I dressed. She'd tell Tyler I was wasting money, being lazy, not taking care of him properly. And Tyler started believing her. Or maybe he always believed her and just stopped hiding it. Laura's hands were shaking now. I moved to sit beside her, put my arm around her shoulders. By February, Vilma had taken over the house. She was going through my things, my papers, asking about my accounts. Tyler started demanding I transfer money to joint accounts. Said it was for tax purposes, for our future. When I hesitated, he got angry. Really angry. That's when he hit me the first time. I felt my jaw clench, kept my voice level. What did you do? I was shocked. He apologized, said he was stressed, that it wouldn't happen again. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe this was just a rough patch. She laughed bitterly. I was so stupid. You weren't stupid. You were being manipulated by experts. It got worse. Tyler took my phone, said I was spending too much time on social media. He started monitoring my emails, my calls. When I tried to call you in March, he was standing right there, listening. I couldn't tell you what was really happening. After that call, he took away my computer access, too. The money transfers, I said. When did those start? February. At first, it was small amounts. 10,000 here, 20,000 there. Tyler said we were consolidating assets. Then in March, he started transferring bigger amounts. 50,000, 75,000. I tried to stop him. Told him I needed to keep some money separate. That's when he locked me in the bedroom for the first time. My hands were fists now. Laura didn't seem to notice. He kept me in there for 3 days. No phone, no computer. Vilma would bring food once a day. She'd stand there watching me eat, telling me how lucky I was that Tyler put up with me. When he finally let me out, there was a document waiting. Transfer authorization for another 100,000. I signed it. I was terrified. How much did they take total? $680,000. Everything except the trust account. Tyler couldn't touch that without both our signatures, and I refused. That's when things got really bad. She was crying now, silent tears running down her face. I held her, let her cry. In May, Vilma started saying things. Cruel things. She'd tell me that once they got access to everything, I wouldn't be needed anymore, that Tyler could find someone better, someone who deserved him. I didn't understand what she meant, not then. When did they move you to the garage? 3 weeks ago, May 25th. Tyler said I was being difficult, that I needed time to think about my choices. He chained me to the pipe, said he and Vilma needed a vacation, that they'd earned it after dealing with me for so long. He said when they came back, we'd discuss my future. She looked at me, her eyes hollow. Dad, they weren't planning to come back and let me go. I heard them talking before they left. Vilma said 3 weeks should be enough time. Tyler said, then we can call it in, act surprised. They were going to let me die in that garage, then report me missing. The pieces I'd already suspected clicked into final, horrifying place. This wasn't just abuse. It wasn't just theft. It was premeditated murder, disguised as abandonment. They took everything, Laura whispered. My money, my home, my freedom. They were going to take my life, and they almost succeeded. I held my daughter and felt something cold and final settle in my chest. Tyler and Vilma had made their choices. Now I was going to make mine. They're going to pay for this, I said quietly. All of it. Every single thing they did to you. I promise you that. Laura pulled back, looked at me. For the first time since I'd found her, I saw something other than fear in her eyes. I saw anger. How? I smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant smile. Let me show you what a real predator looks like. The next morning, I met Wade Miller at his office downtown. Wade was in his early 50s, gray at the temples, sharp eyes. I'd worked with him during my detective days on domestic violence cases. He had a reputation for being ruthless. James, he said, shaking my hand, I reviewed everything you sent. This is one of the worst cases I've seen. I need you to file for divorce immediately and freeze every asset. Already drafted, given the evidence, medical records, financial fraud, forged signatures, I can get an emergency hearing Monday. Judge Patterson's on rotation. She's excellent on these cases. He pulled out a folder. But we need to talk criminal charges. This isn't just divorce. Detective Chen's building that case, but I want civil lockdown first. Tyler and Vilma can't access one penny. Agreed. Filing today. Restraining order will be automatic. For the assets, we'll need forensic accountants to trace the transfers. How long before we get the house back in Laura's name? Given the documented coercion and forgery, 60 days. Maybe less if Tyler doesn't contest. Wade leaned forward. James, these people will fight. They've stolen $680,000. I'm counting on them fighting. The more they fight, the more evidence we gather. After Wade's office, I drove to Los Gatos to meet Xavier Donovan at a coffee shop. Xavier, my old colleague turned private investigator, was waiting with a laptop and 3 files. James, we shook hands. I've been digging into Tyler and Vilma for 3 days. These two are professionals. Tell me. Tyler Benson, fired in December for falsifying expense reports. He's got gambling debts, $120,000 across 3 Reno casinos. They've been pressing him since March. That explains the accelerated theft. Exactly. Now, Vilma. He opened the second file. 2 bankruptcies. Conviction for fraud in 2012. Scammed an elderly neighbor out of $50,000. Probation. She's been living off Tyler since. Mother-son grifting team. Gets better. They have a joint account. Every dollar Tyler stole went into his account, then immediately to the joint account. 50-50 split. Planned together from the start. Cold clarity deepened. Premeditated, organized, calculated. What else? Internet searches. Tyler researched how to dispose of a body. Fake missing person case. Countries without extradition. Vilma looked up. How long before declared dead? Life insurance. How to forge a will. They planned to fake Laura's will after killing her. That's my read. Kill her. Report missing. Wait for death declaration. Produce forged will. Move money offshore. Disappear. Xavier shook his head. If you hadn't shown up, they might have succeeded. But I did. Xavier opened the 3rd file. One more thing. Tyler has a girlfriend. Vanessa Chen, 34, marketing, 8 months. I found texts where Tyler promises to leave Laura soon, once everything is settled. Perfect. Does Vanessa know the plan? Hard to say. Texts are vague. She knows he's married and planning to leave. Whether she knows details, Xavier shrugged. Find out. If she's complicit, she's part of the criminal case. If not, she's a witness. We flip. On it. What's your play? I leaned back. Tyler and Vilma are in Hawaii until June 23rd. 4 more days. Wade's filing divorce and restraining order today. When they land at SFO, they're served immediately. All accounts frozen. They'll panic, make mistakes. And then Detective Chen arrests them. Kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, fraud, attempted murder. While they're in jail, we dismantle their lives, take back every dollar, destroy their reputations, make certain they never hurt anyone again. Xavier smiled grimly. Remind me never to make an enemy of you. They should have remembered I'm not just a father. I'm a detective who spent 35 years hunting people who thought they were smarter than the system. I stood. Keep digging. Phone records, credit cards, witnesses. Everything that'll bury them. You got it. I drove back. Laura was by the window, looking out at the city. How'd it go? She asked. Wade's filing today. Xavier found evidence they planned to forge your will after you were dead. Tyler has a girlfriend who thought she was getting a rich single man. I sat beside her. We have them. Every piece of evidence we need. She was quiet. Then, good. I want them to suffer the way they made me suffer. They will, but we're doing this legally, methodically, permanently. When this is over, they won't just be in prison. They'll be financially ruined, socially destroyed, with criminal records that follow them forever. When do they find out? 4 days. When they land, police will be waiting. Then the real fun begins. Laura smiled for the first time since I'd found her. It wasn't happy. It was the smile of someone who'd survived something terrible and was about to watch their tormentors face justice. I recognized that smile. I'd seen it in the mirror that morning. June 23rd, the day Tyler and Vilma's vacation ended. I stood in the international arrivals area at San Francisco International Airport, positioned near the coffee shop with a clear view of the gates. Detective Chen was somewhere in the terminal with 2 uniforms. Wade had filed all the paperwork 2 days ago. Restraining order active. Accounts frozen. Trap set. All we had to do was wait. Laura had wanted to come, but I'd talked her out of it. Trust me. You don't want to be here for this? The flight from Honolulu landed at 2:47 p.m. Customs, baggage claim, another 20 minutes minimum. I sipped my coffee and watched the arrivals board. At 3:12, I saw them. Tyler came through first, pulling 2 large suitcases, tanned and relaxed. Expensive Hawaiian shirt, designer sunglasses. Behind him, Vilma in a sundress and wide-brimmed hat. They were laughing. They looked like people without a care in the world. People who'd just enjoyed a luxurious vacation. People who had no idea their lives were about to implode. I texted Chen. They're here. Gate 42A. Tyler checked his phone, frowned. That's weird. My credit card app isn't loading. Probably just the airport Wi-Fi, Vilma said dismissively. 15 more feet. Then Detective Chen and the uniforms intercepted them. Tyler Benson? Chen's voice was professional, neutral. Tyler turned, confused. Yes? Chen held up his badge. Detective Robert Chen, San Jose Police. I need you to come with us. You too, Vilma Benson. Confusion shifted to annoyance. What? Why? You're under arrest for kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, financial fraud, and attempted murder. I watched Tyler's face cycle through expressions. Confusion, disbelief, then fear. Raw, animal fear. What? That's insane. Who? He stopped. Face went pale. Laura. Where's Laura? Safe, Chen said, and willing to testify. Turn around, hands behind your back. This is ridiculous. I want my lawyer. Vilma had gone completely still, frozen in shock. One officer moved to cuff her. That's when she found her voice. This is a mistake. We didn't do anything. That girl is lying. She's always been a liar. Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent, the officer said, continuing Miranda. But Vilma wasn't listening. She stared around the terminal at other travelers watching, phones recording, her face flushed red. Do you know who we are? The lawsuit you're bringing on yourselves. She turned to Tyler. Call Marcus. Tell him to meet us. Mom, shut up, Tyler hissed. He'd regained some composure, but his hands shook as the officer cuffed them. Don't say anything. Chen looked at me across the terminal. I nodded once. He nodded back. Officers, take them to the station. Chen turned to Tyler. Oh, and Mr. Benson? Your bank accounts have been frozen pending investigation. Credit cards suspended. The house is under restraining order. You won't be able to access any assets you obtained through your wife. Tyler's face went from pale to gray. What? You can't. That's our money. That's money obtained through fraud and coercion. A judge reviewed the evidence this morning. You'll get a chance to contest it. In court. After you make bail. If you can make bail. They led Tyler and Vilma away. Vilma still protesting, voice echoing through the terminal. Tyler had gone quiet, mind racing for a way out. There wasn't one. I'd made sure of it. I waited until they were out of sight, then walked to the parking garage. Called Laura from the car. It's done. They're in custody. Laura's voice was shaky but determined. How did they react? Tyler looked like he'd been hit by a truck. Vilma threw a tantrum. They're both in handcuffs, being processed. Accounts frozen. No access to money. No access to the house. No way to run. Good. I hope they're terrified. They are, but this is just the beginning. Arraignment tomorrow. Then trial preparation. Long process. I know. I'm ready. I drove back to San Jose, thinking about the next steps. Xavier had sent me his final report that morning. Everything we'd need for the trial. The forged signatures, the internet searches, the text messages with the girlfriend. Tyler and Vilma had left a trail of evidence so clear, so damning, that no reasonable jury could ignore it. They'd gotten sloppy. Arrogant. They'd thought they were smart enough to get away with it. That was their first mistake. Their second mistake was underestimating what a father would do to protect his daughter. Back at the apartment, Laura was waiting. She looked stronger than she had a week ago. Color in her face, steadiness in her eyes. What happens now? Now we watch them try to explain the unexplainable. Watch them realize every choice they made, every cruel thing they did, left evidence, and we watch them pay. Laura smiled, not happy, but the smile of someone who'd survived and was about to see justice served. Tell me about the trial. Tell me how we're going to destroy them. So I did. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for July 7th, 2 weeks after arrest. Tyler and Vilma had both made bail. Barely. Tyler's bail, $500,000. Vilma's, $250,000. They'd used their joint account, the one with Laura's stolen money. I found that deeply satisfying. Wade and I met with Laura the morning before. Wade's conference room, documents spread across the table. Prosecution presents evidence tomorrow, Wade explained. Medical records, bank statements, phone records. Judge decides if there's enough for trial. What about Tyler's lawyer? Marcus Hoffman. He'll try to paint this as domestic dispute gone bad. Claim Tyler was stressed, made mistakes. Won't work. Evidence is too clear. What do I need to do? Be honest, direct. Don't let him rattle you. Wade looked at me. James, you'll testify as the person who found Laura. Your police background adds weight. Hearing started at 10 a.m. Courtroom packed. I sat behind Laura. Across the aisle, Tyler and Vilma with their attorneys. Tyler had lost weight. Vilma looked 10 years older. Prosecution went first. Medical evidence, photos of Laura's injuries, chain marks, doctor's testimony about dehydration and malnutrition. I watched Tyler's face, neutral, but jaw tight. Then financial evidence. Every transfer, every forged signature. Timelines showed how thefts accelerated, how Tyler systematically drained Laura's accounts. Your Honor, the prosecutor said, we have evidence of premeditation. He pulled up screenshots. These are internet searches from Tyler Benson's computer. How to dispose of a body. How to fake a missing person case. Countries without extradition treaties. The courtroom went silent. Even Tyler's lawyer looked shaken. And from Vilma Benson's computer? How long before someone is declared dead? How to forge a will. Life insurance policy requirements. Judge Patricia Coleman, stern woman in her 60s, looked at Tyler and Vilma with barely concealed disgust. I see. Continue. My turn to testify. I kept it simple. Described finding Laura, her condition, the chain, the garage. Didn't embellish. Facts were damning enough. Tyler's lawyer cross-examined. Mr. Harrison, isn't it true you've been estranged from your daughter for 2 years? I lived in London. We stayed in touch. But you didn't know about problems in her marriage? No, because her husband had taken her phone and isolated her from everyone who cared about her. He shifted tactics. You worked in financial crimes, correct? Isn't it possible you're interpreting normal marital financial arrangements as something more sinister? I looked at him, kept my voice level. Normal marital arrangements don't involve forged signatures, systematic theft, and leaving your spouse chained in a garage to die. But maybe your definition of normal is different than mine. Several people in the courtroom laughed. Judge gavelled for silence. Prosecution's secret weapon came next. Vanessa Chen, Tyler's girlfriend. Xavier had tracked her down. Prosecution offered her immunity for testimony. 34, pretty, clearly terrified. She took the stand reluctantly. Miss Chen, how long have you been seeing Tyler Benson? 8 months. Did he tell you he was married? Yes. He said he was leaving his wife. That once he got his finances sorted out, we'd be together. Did he ever discuss his plans for his wife? Vanessa's voice dropped. He said Laura would be out of the picture soon. I thought he meant divorce. I didn't know. Did you see this text? The prosecutor showed her a printout. Everything will be resolved in 3 weeks. Then it's just you and me, and enough money to go anywhere. Vanessa's face crumpled. I didn't understand what he meant, Tyler exploded. She's lying. I never said that. Judge slammed her gavel. Mr. Benson, control yourself or you'll be removed. Tyler's lawyer grabbed his arm. Tyler sat back, face red with rage. Hearing lasted 4 hours. When it was over, Judge Coleman barely deliberated. I find sufficient evidence to proceed to trial on all charges. Bail will remain as set, but both defendants will be fitted with GPS monitoring. Trial begins August 1st. She looked at Tyler and Vilma. I suggest you consider the strength of the evidence against you. Outside, reporters swarmed. I steered Laura toward Wade's car, but I heard one question. Mr. Benson, do you have any comment? I glanced back. Tyler surrounded by cameras, looking cornered. This is a misunderstanding. My wife and I had problems, yes, but I never... What about the searches for how to dispose of a body? Another reporter called. Tyler's face went pale. His lawyer pulled him away. In the car, Laura was quiet. You okay? I keep thinking about how he looked when they showed the searches. When Vanessa testified, he couldn't believe this was happening to him. People like Tyler and Vilma always think they'll get away with it. Think they're smarter than everyone else. That rules don't apply. I looked at her, but they do. And now they're learning. Laura nodded. Good. Because I want them to understand exactly what they did. I want them to face every consequence. They will. Trial's in 3 weeks. By the time we're done, Tyler and Vilma won't just be in prison. They'll be examples, warnings. Wade dropped us at the apartment. My phone buzzed. Xavier. Just saw the news coverage. Tyler's face when they mentioned the searches was priceless. This is going to be a slaughter. I texted back. Good. That's exactly what I want it to be. The trial lasted 3 weeks, August 1st through August 22nd. Every day, Wade and I sat with Laura as the prosecution methodically built their case. Every day, Tyler and Vilma sat across the aisle, their expensive lawyers trying desperately to contain the damage. They couldn't. The evidence was too overwhelming. On August 22nd, the jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they came back, the 4 women stood and read the verdict. On the charge of kidnapping, we find the defendant, Tyler Benson, guilty. Laura's hand tightened in mine. On the charge of unlawful imprisonment, guilty. On the charge of attempted murder, guilty. On the charge of financial fraud, guilty. I watched Tyler's face. He'd gone pale, but he still had that arrogant tilt to his chin, like he couldn't quite believe this was happening to him. Vilma's verdict came next. Guilty on conspiracy charges, guilty as an accomplice to kidnapping and fraud. She started crying, not tears of remorse, but tears of self-pity and rage. Sentencing was scheduled for August 28th, 6 days away. Those 6 days were interesting. Tyler's lawyer tried to negotiate a plea deal. The prosecution refused. Vilma's lawyer requested leniency. The judge denied it. Meanwhile, I gave an interview to the San Jose Mercury News, told them everything. The story went viral. Within 48 hours, Tyler and Vilma's faces were everywhere. Social media was merciless. Tyler tried to delete his online presence. Too late. The internet never forgets. On August 28th, we returned to court for sentencing. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, spectators, people who'd followed the story online. Judge Coleman had to gavel for silence multiple times. Laura had prepared a victim impact statement. She stood at the podium, looking directly at Tyler. You told me you loved me. Instead, you tried to take my life. You and your mother planned to let me die. But I didn't die. And now you're going to spend years understanding what it means to lose everything. She sat down. Vilma started to say something, but her lawyer shut her down. Judge Coleman adjusted her glasses. I've presided over many cases in my career. This is among the most disturbing. The systematic nature of the abuse, the financial exploitation, the premeditation. This was not a crime of passion. This was calculated cruelty. She looked at Tyler. Tyler Benson, you are sentenced to 15 years in state prison without possibility of parole for 5 years. Additionally, you are ordered to pay $300,000 in restitution to the victim. Tyler's face went slack with shock. Vilma Benson, you are sentenced to 8 years in state prison. You will also be held jointly liable for the restitution. Vilma exploded. This is insane. We didn't do anything wrong. That girl manipulated everyone. Mrs. Benson, one more outburst, and I'll add contempt charges. Judge Coleman's voice was ice. Officers, remove the defendants. As they led Tyler and Vilma away in handcuffs, Vilma turned and screamed at me. You destroyed my son's life. You destroyed everything. I stood up, looked at her calmly. No, he destroyed his own life when he decided money was more important than people. The words were quiet, but in the silent courtroom, everyone heard them. Tyler didn't say anything. He just stared at me, finally understanding that this was real, that he'd lost, that his careful plans had collapsed because he'd underestimated the one person who'd never stop fighting for Laura. They took them away. The courtroom erupted in conversation. Reporters surged forward. Wade steered us toward a side exit. Outside, Laura stopped, turned to me. It's really over? The criminal case, yes, but there's more. I pulled out my phone, showed her the email from Wade's office. The house is being transferred back to your name. The court's ordering the sale of Tyler's assets to pay the restitution. His gambling debts are his problem. The casinos are already filing claims, and Vilma's bankruptcy means she has nothing. They'll both leave prison with records, no money, and reputations destroyed. Laura took a shaky breath. And the money they stole? We're getting back about 400,000 of the 680,000 they took. The rest they spent. Lawyers, bail, their lifestyle. But combined with the 300,000 restitution, you'll have 700,000. Not as much as you started with, but enough to rebuild. She nodded slowly. I don't care about the money anymore. I just want them to never be able to hurt anyone else. They won't. 15 and 8 years is a long time. Tyler will be 57 when he gets out. Vilma will be 72. With criminal records, history of fraud, and the internet remembering everything, their lives are effectively over. Wade caught up with us. The press wants a statement. Give them one, I said. Tell them justice was served. Tell them that predators who think they're clever enough to get away with crimes should remember one thing. There's always someone smarter, more determined, and more ruthless than they are. Wade smiled grimly. I'll phrase it more diplomatically, but yes, that's the message. We drove back to the apartment. Laura was quiet, processing. I understood. 3 months ago, she'd been chained in a garage, convinced she was going to die. Now her abusers were going to prison. She had her money back, and she had her life back. Dad, she said as we pulled into the parking garage. Yeah? Thank you. For coming back. For not giving up. For destroying them. I looked at my daughter. She'd been through unimaginable horror, but she'd survived. She was stronger than Tyler, and Vilma had ever understood. You would have done the same for me, I said simply. She smiled. A real smile this time. Yes, I would have. 3 months later, November the 28th. Laura's new apartment was small but bright, filled with plants and books. Downtown San Jose, near the transit center. Safe building, good neighborhood. The house had sold in October for $1,180,000. After fees and mortgage, Laura netted $960,000. Combined with recovered funds and restitution, she had close to $1.7 million. She'd invested most of it conservatively. Used some for therapy, 3 sessions a week. She was getting better, slowly. Still had nightmares sometimes, but she was healing. I'd rented a small apartment 2 blocks from hers. I wasn't going back to London. My daughter needed me here. We'd fallen into a routine. Coffee on Tuesdays, dinner on Fridays, phone calls most other days, building back what Tyler had tried to destroy. On that November morning, Laura called me. Dad, Tyler's lawyer contacted mine. He wants to see us. Both of us? Yes. He says Tyler has something he needs to say. Wade thinks it's safe. Tyler's in prison. There'll be glass between us, guards everywhere. But I don't have to go if I don't want to. I was quiet for a moment. Do you want to? I think I need to. Need to see him one last time. See that he's really locked up, that he can't hurt me anymore. Then we'll go. Together. 2 days later, we drove to the California State Prison in Soledad, about 90 minutes south. Laura was nervous, hands fidgeting in her lap, but her jaw was set with determination. The visitor processing took an hour. Finally, they led us to a visitation room. Glass partition, phones on either side. We sat down and waited. Tyler shuffled in wearing prison jumpsuit, looking aged 10 years, lost weight, dark circles, greasy hair. He moved like someone who'd learned to be small, to not attract attention. Prison had broken him. He sat, picked up the phone. I picked up ours, held it between Laura and me. Laura, his voice was hoarse, thank you for coming. What do you want, Tyler? I wanted to say, I'm sorry. I know it sounds hollow. What I did, what my mother and I did. He stopped. It was unforgivable. I was desperate. The gambling debts. I thought if I could get your money, I could fix everything. Then it spiraled. My mother kept pushing, telling me we could make it look like you'd left. Stop. Laura's voice was hard. I don't want excuses. You chose money over me. You chose to torture me. You chose to let me die in that garage. Tyler's face crumpled. I know, and I'll spend every day for the next 15 years regretting it. Laura, when I get out... No, I cut him off. There is no when you get out. There's no future where you and Laura have contact. She's moving on. You're a memory, a bad dream she's waking up from. Tyler looked at me. Mr. Harrison, I'm not angry, Tyler. Anger is momentary. What I feel is contempt. You're a small, pathetic man who thought he was clever. You weren't. You were sloppy, arrogant, and cruel. And now you're exactly where you belong. Tyler's expression shifted. For a moment I saw a flash of the old Tyler, the arrogant narcissist who thought he was smarter than everyone. You think you won? You think this is over? I'll appeal. I'll get out early. And when I do, when you do, you'll be a 57-year-old convicted felon with a destroyed reputation, no money, massive gambling debts, and a parole officer watching your every move. I leaned forward slightly. You forgot one simple thing, Tyler. Parents remember. Always. The words hit him like a physical blow. His face went pale. The arrogance drained away, replaced by the realization that he'd lost everything and would never get it back. Laura stood up. I came here because I needed to see you one last time, to confirm that you're real, that you're locked up, that you can't hurt me anymore. Now I've seen it. I don't need to see you again. Ever. She hung up the phone. I stood with her, put my hand on her shoulder. Tyler was saying something, but we couldn't hear him through the glass. He was standing now, one hand pressed against the partition, mouth moving. Maybe apologies, maybe threats, maybe just desperate pleas. We didn't stay to find out. We turned and walked away. Behind us, I heard Tyler start to shout. Guards moved in. The door closed, cutting off the sound. In the parking lot, Laura stopped, took a deep breath of free air. It's really over now, isn't it? Yes, it's over. I feel... She paused, searching for the word. Lighter, like I was carrying something heavy and finally put it down. That's called closure and justice. We drove back toward San Jose. Laura looked out the window at the California landscape sliding past, and for the first time since I'd found her in that garage, she looked peaceful. Dad, she said as we hit the highway, thank you for everything. You would have done the same for me, I said, echoing my words from the courthouse. She smiled. Yes, I would have. The sun was setting as we drove north, painting the sky orange and gold. Behind us, Tyler sat in his cell, facing 15 years of consequences. Ahead of us, Laura had a life to rebuild, and I'd be there every step of the way. Justice hadn't just been served. It had been delivered with precision, wrapped in karma, and sealed with the understanding that some people learn too late, that the people you hurt the most are the ones who'll fight the hardest to destroy you. Tyler had learned that lesson. Vilma had learned it too. And somewhere, in whatever comes next, they'd spend years regretting the day they decided my daughter was disposable. She wasn't. She never had been. And now everyone knew it. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.